Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boy.
He tried to jump up, and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys would come in and say,
oh, God. So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there. He's punching me in the stomach. Like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Chico can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the team 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Chico can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the Spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time for the show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you going to bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it?
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like, they should all
Players. Look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now.
Hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Friday,
The hell am I doing all this counting for?
16th. I got it right there. The split second. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We have a big show for you today. It's Loosey Goosey Friday here at Indigo, our new home. I guess it's not so much new anymore. We've been here for a minute. It's continuing to evolve.
New home, improved home.
Yeah, new and improved home. Continuing to improve, continuing to get really good and better. The place and the area and the surroundings that we are in is very good. And if you haven't checked out indigopapers.com, you probably should. For all of your CBD and Delta 8, Delta 9 needs, gummies, seltzers. You just got some seltzers that are going to be a little interesting for you, aren't they?
I'm the rab lad around here. I'm the head lab rat around here. Yeah. So like
what flavor did you get?
Cream soda.
Ooh.
60 mg.
Ooh.
2 of them to the face.
Maybe you wait till you get home and do that. Need the fingers to work, need the brain to work for the show today. But got a big show for you today. Obviously, it is Friday. We have a lot to talk about. We had a preseason game last night. Drake May is his second preseason start. First one was kind of, it was a slop fest. It was rainy. Didn't really get to see much about him. The second game was significantly more action for him. He was in the game for a lot longer. Played better. Scored his first rushing touchdown. Had a dime down the field that was almost caught. Made some really good throws. Had some good plays. Encouraging for the Patriots to see him perform like that. Obviously, it's preseason, but he is a rookie, so it was nice to see that happen. Bryce Koon, our friend Bryce Koon, back in the saddle. Coming back on the show today at 1:45 to what?
What was that?
Well, my phone vibrated on my desk. I don't know. Coming back on the show today at 1:45, talk everything LSU football. Obviously, he's been there. He's been at practice. He's seen it. We're going to talk to him a little bit about college football as well. It's the FedEx Cup what?
First college football as a father. First college football season as a dad.
Dad strength.
Yeah.
Dad strength. FedEx
You
Cup
about
is
to learn about Pac-12 after dark, baby.
Yeah, well,
I'm on baby duty.
no doubt.
Yeah.
No, not going to as many home games, but you're going to be able to watch a lot of football, feeding, hanging out, rocking. Hey, I got it. I'll take care of you. You can go. You get some rest. Let me go and do this.
Saturday, 1 a.m.
Yeah,
Sunday.
He's figuring it out. Preseason, like I said, is underway. Week 2 is underway. A lot of games coming up on Saturday. The Saints play Sunday night. I'm sure you're going to get an extended view of Derek Carr and this new offense that LSU, the Saints are going to put out there. You're also going to get to watch the Chiefs play on Saturday, and Mahomes is supposed to play for a full half. So that's pretty good. Why'd you look at me like that?
Because that's what I was hoping you were going to say. I heard that also today, and I thought the preseason was dead.
Yeah, it's not dead. It seems like they're putting a lot more stock into it, right? They want these guys to go out there and look. There's reason for him to play. They got another number 1 receiver outside of Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy, so you want to get them kind of on the same page, get as many game reps as possible with those guys so they can kind of be in sync when the season starts. Matthew Judon traded to the Falcons. Seems like the Patriots are just cashing it in. Hey, let's go get another really good pick next year and just kind of figure it after that. Falcons, on the other hand, are saying, let's go make all the moves in our division and say, I think it's up for grabs. Let's go make these moves and make sure that we can go get them. They bring in Matthew Judon, one of the better pass rushers in the league. Not great for the division, not great for the Saints, especially when you have unproven tackles for the New Orleans Saints. Trevor Penning hasn't been great. Moving to right tackle, that experiment has been a disaster so far. You draft a first-round left tackle who's looked good, but he's a rookie. So you're going up against a veteran guy and Matthew Judon, not going to be great to deal with throughout the course of the season. But we shall see. We're also going to get our first look at Russell Wilson as a Pittsburgh Steeler. He's going to play this weekend. He's going to play. I guess they're playing on Sunday or Saturday or Sunday.
Saturday. They play Saturday.
They play on Saturday. He'll get his first start as a Steeler. Obviously, he's been kind of banged up, so you've had Justin Fields get majority of the reps. We'll see what that looks like. And last but not least, it is Paul Skeens' day. He is on the mound today at 5:40 Central Time. We will be long at home after that and making sure that you have a good spot to watch him on this beautiful Friday afternoon. That's all we got for the Heineken headlines. But let's get into some of this preseason conversation before Bryce comes on. We're going to get you all LSU at 1:45 when Bryce comes. We don't want to hit all the topics too far in advance before he gets in here. We want to ask him the questions. He's actually there seeing it. But as far as preseason is dead normally, right? Have you been watching it?
I caught a little bit. I'll catch it every here and now because I don't have the preseason.
You don't know exactly when they're coming on, who's playing, times, all that kind of stuff, right?
Right. I had you muted because the jostle.
Yeah.
But good. I put you back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know times, place, when, where. I do have basically DirecTV for the NFL preseason with some accounts that I have. But other than that, I can watch them all. I just haven't really been paying attention. Saints all tuned into. They had a little bit of a scare with Fuaga yesterday. Left practice with a back problem. Turns out just back tightness. But if you'd have cashed me out on the Saints left tackle with what they have at right tackle, I would not be tuning in aside from maybe just to watch a massacre. Because Saints also tried to sign Justin Simmons, who at the stroke of midnight flipped to the Falcons.
Right. And Falcons they're making too many moves. I don't love it. Don't love it.
They're not making our life easier, that's for sure.
Not making anybody's life easier.
And I think Jared put it great before the show when he was saying, they're not – he was talking about the draft and what people do in free agency, and a lot of people look at it as a big picture thing, and he was like, dude, you're just trying to beat the team and the teams in your division because it's a golden ticket in the playoffs, right? Correct?
100%. If you're able to have a winning record against the teams in your division, that's 50% of your schedule every year anyway, right? So if you're able to beat those teams and have a winning record, that is a surefire. I would love to know the actual percentage number of when you have a winning record against your division. How many of those teams actually make the playoffs? Because I would imagine that number is pretty huge. Because if you beat those teams, now you give yourself a chance. And you don't have to do as much in these non-divisional games. But every year, if I'm going to play 50% of my schedule against a certain amount of teams, I should probably gear my roster to beating those teams the best, and we'll figure out the other 50% on the other way. Because those are obviously all spread out across the entire NFL anyway.
Week 2 is usually the week though that these teams do play majority of their guys, right? Like
guys start getting in. Yeah,
especially because there's only 3 games.
Yeah, guys start getting in. But the thing about, for me, why I don't pay too much attention to it, it's not so much because of who is or who isn't playing. It's because of what you do and or do not see scheme wise. Right? Like these teams are not gonna they're not gonna give their hand, they're not gonna show too much, they're not gonna give you too much to understand. It's literally super basic on the defensive side, it's super basic on the other side, and kind of somehow like we look at spring training, if you will, if like a Justin Verlander's in spring training, he may be working on a split finger. Some of these guys may be out there working on certain stuff, and if they're working on some stuff, they may get cooked or it may not look as good. And then they know, all right, either I crash that and I'm never going to use that again, or I'm going to keep this in my repertoire. So what you see in preseason isn't necessarily what you're going to see during the season. So I just don't put too much onto it. Now, don't get me wrong, you get those mid-tier to the bottom half of the bottom half, they are playing their hearts out because they're trying to make a team. But it's still, as far as for what you're going to see on Sundays during the year, it's not really the same thing.
No, right. I agree. And I think for me, the intrigue of preseason is seeing the new guys and young guys trying to make a team, and guys that are just getting drafted, kind of see how they acclimate to the NFL and to, like, this is the first step, right? Obviously, preseason NFL is not like regular season NFL. Regular season NFL is not like playoff NFL. So this is kind of their first step in that, and it's nice to see them, make the adjustments and kind of look. Patriots last night, Kayshon Boutte, three catches, I think, for 23 yards, a one-handed grab. Like, he's still making moves and still hanging on out there. Maybe he's gonna
trying out for the penal league team, because that man will not be playing in the NFL. That's what they let the guys that are going to be suspended play in the preseason.
That's right. I forgot he was suspended. Duh.
A little
How long
bit
is
of
he suspended for?
That I don't know, but I'd imagine, the paper trail, it's going to become like I think it's more also a federal thing, investigation. So good for him to, I guess, take his mind off of it. Maybe he's like, I do like football, I should probably focus on this. Well,
you would think that, like, if it was that much of a deal, they wouldn't even have him on the team anymore, right?
I guess you let it play out.
Yeah, but like if it was a federal thing, you would imagine. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that once he's, I guess, formally charged, right now it's just allegations.
Right.
And I'd imagine once it becomes like an actual deal, it's like, all right, we have to cut ties. But good to see him out there. One-handed catch, I saw it.
Yeah, it was nice. It was 3 yards, but, made a good play in the flat. That's a tough catch. Tough play to make. Kind of overthrew him. They have another rookie receiver. I think his last name is Baker. Seemed to get open a lot last night. Didn't come down with a bunch of the catches. Tough contested catches, obviously not easy. Wasn't like they're like drops, but they're a catch that he probably would say that he should have caught.
Balls that need to be caught, and balls that you would imagine if you're playing ones-on-ones during the season, these are balls that will probably be completed. So it was good to see Drake make some of these plays. You'd like to see it completed on the other side, but you would think, like, once the season starts, this is the kind of thing that makes a team go forward a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt.
Well, and I think it's interesting that I felt like the main thought about the shortened preseason, and now they want to almost get rid of it completely. I don't know if this is like the coaches saying, no, we want preseason, we'll play our guys, or I thought it was going to run into like the regular season where it would be like the first couple games you see aren't going to be as polished because our guys haven't played it all.
Well, that's why I think you got to keep the preseason. Like,
they want to get rid of it.
I know they do, but like you have to
add a game.
As a coach, you have to say, listen, we need it because I don't want the first 2 weeks of the regular season to be like the first 2 weeks of preseason. Like I can't. It can't really happen that way.
The problem of it is like NFL still wants the revenue of it, man.
Right.
Like,
they'll get it.
How?
McAfee made a good point today on
Are you talking about with the extra
preseason.
game?
Yeah, with preseason.
Oh, I think they make that up with the extra game.
Well,
but you're not hearing me. What I'm saying is you still have to get revved up and get ready for the season. So when teams are trying to find a way to do it is, all right, does that mean you get more joint practices? Then does more joint practice turn into more fights? Does it turn more dangerous? Do you actually get the work out of it that you need to be getting out of it? That's why the preseason's there. Now, they want to be able to have that and be able to have that news cycle, too.
Well, and the other thing for teams, right, like it's important for teams because that's the best way to evaluate these guys And that's the only time to evaluate them in a game situation. You can have all the joint packages you want and scrimmages. It's not the same as being out there on national TV on a football field playing a game against feels like a real game.
Well, it feels like a game,
right? And so that's these young guys trying to make the team or trying to make a difference or trying to be part of something. This is where the coaches get to evaluate them, right? This is the only time they get to really look at them and say, okay, this is what they look like under the lights. Some guys aren't great at practice. Some guys are great on the game, and vice versa. Some guys are great at practice and the lights come on, aren't great in the game. So it's one of those things where I think coaches want it because that is how they evaluate. I would hate to see it. Pat McAfee did make a good point on his show this morning. He was like, he was thinking about how to monetize, football more than it already is. Obviously, everything they do is like, oh, Hard Knocks is great. Let's have an in-season Hard Knocks. That's great. Okay, now let's have a postseason. Let's have a off-season Hard Knocks. That was great. And so now they're always looking for these different angles. He made a point. He's like, well, okay, all these joint practices, everybody talks about how awesome they are and like how these coaches love these joint practices because they can evaluate. Why don't you just start having crews there and you start filming these joint practices and you do all these types of things, and now instead of having all the preseason stuff, you get the joint behind-the-scenes practice. So that's, I would imagine coaches don't want that, right? Sometimes the NFL does things that the coaches don't want.
Invasive.
Right. And so...
But that would be and that's why, if you axe the preseason game, then if you did something like that, that's a way to create another revenue stream and kind of keep yourself in that market. But you can't just axe them completely, and because there's so much stuff that you lose. NFL loses on the side of revenue. The coaches and the teams losing on the side of, in a sense of, let me put you in an actual game situation and see what you look like, as opposed to just out here in the middle of the day in the morning trying to beat the heat before we get out of here. There's just so many different things of having the preseason and what it actually does do. But there is that downside, if you will, of the injury bug, right? The injury bug is going to hit somewhere, and that's why you don't see so many guys playing in preseason games.
Right.
So many name brand guys, if you will.
Yeah, and you've already seen the injury bug hit a lot of teams this year. Bengals had some guys get carted off the field. You've had
the Vikings.
The Vikings have been decimated by injuries. Every year there's teams that go through these types of things. Justin Jefferson's probably not happy right now. He just got paid all this money, and now he's got really
Sammy.
Yeah. Sam Darnold. Hey, listen, Sam Darnold got drafted, 3 overall? Right?
Yeah, something.
Overall,
no,
right?
it wasn't first.
I can tell you this. If it doesn't look serviceable this year for him, that may be the rest of his ticket for the NFL right now.
Yep.
You're getting this chance. There isn't really anyone scratching at your back right now. You got receivers. What's his name? Jordan Addison seemed to kind of escape a big injury. You got Hawkinson, who's going to be coming back. You got a good running back in Aaron Jones in the backfield. If it doesn't work for him this year, I would imagine you're not going to see too much of Sam Darnold on teams going forward. So this is his big shot right here. And for somebody like Justin Jefferson, he's going to have to be the one that kind of spearhead this thing and make it work for him.
I still don't get how J.J. McCarthy's out for the whole year. I just don't understand.
It's a new thing. It's happened a lot. And I don't say a lot, but it's been a thing more than what we had known about it in the past. Is sometimes the meniscus injury, I guess doctors go in and they're like, ooh, yeah, this is a little bit more than what we thought, and it becomes a season-long injury as opposed to just that. Dude, we've seen people come back in weeks from a meniscus. We've seen people come back in two, maybe 3 months, and now it's a big. I think that's one of the ones where recently they figured out there's a wide range in the sense of we don't know until we go in and actually see what's going on with it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be I have a hard time believing that they're going to get rid of preseason completely.
Yeah, everything that it would have to be a massive agreement between. You would have to operate.
The players' union is not going to agree.
Yeah, you'd have to operate in pretty good faith, which the NFL has not really done with the Players Association. The PA usually kind of is like a pushover and like, yeah, we'll roll over, pat our belly, it's good.
Well, the crazy
and then the
thing
players are like, wait, we didn't agree to this. Like, well, you didn't really go to the Players Union meeting.
Well, the crazy thing about this is when unions these leagues and these unions, they get together and they have these negotiations. They come up with the CBA, right? So you have all these bylaws and they have all these things in the CBA. Well, NFL, at least I know in the MLB, the commissioner has the right, Major League Baseball has the right to enforce rules whenever they see fit. Whenever they want to say, oh, let's try this rule out, They do these types of things. The PA can push back, but ultimately, if the owners and the commissioner want to do it, they end up trying to do it. That's how you see all these rules getting put into baseball. NFL seems like the same thing. They're adding these new rules. You have, I think it's a competition committee. You get together, you kind of figure some stuff out. But I think ultimately, I could be wrong, seems like ultimately the commissioners and the owners, the commissioner and the owners have the ability to make these decisions if they want. But as far as like this preseason game, I think that one's a negotiation with like the players union and all that kind of stuff. I just don't think that the PA is going to want to do it. I don't think the coaches are going to want to do it.
Yeah, I could see the coaches wanting to do it because I heard we were all listening to the same thing this morning, and they were like, in a perfect world, you could almost get more done for getting reps for like guys in a practice environment. But if you do a co-practice or a joint practice, like it gets competitive. You're able to get your reps in, but you're able to do so many more things quickly, as opposed to a preseason game where it's one rep and you get to understand like it's a game environment. That's the other side where coaches would be like, I get to work with these guys a lot more.
Right. Listen, the joint practices, you get to develop them more. Like I get that, no doubt, because you're more one-on-one time. It's more controlled. It's more specific to this one player.
Well, even outside the one-on-one, like you get a live rep.
Yeah, right.
And right after the live rep, I get to yell at you and tell you exactly what was good, what was bad, what needs to be changed. Do it again. And you get to do it like that. You can't do that in a game. It's series you're on, series you're off. You know what I mean?
Which, as far as evaluating talent,
Madden Rewind.
Right. Right. But as far as evaluating talent, you watch them in the preseason games, then you got to figure out, okay, how are they going to make the adjustments on their own?
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to do this on the fly? And that is, to me, just as important as the practice
it's a different element because when you get to a preseason game, it's a chance to see what information is retained, if you will, right? Like I can tell it to you, and I can tell it to you and coach you up play by play, but I don't get to do that in the game. So if I play a preseason game and I put you out on the field, now I get to see what you're actually retaining. How are you really progressing, and how can we move forward with this? That's a little bit different. And I think both of them are super beneficial, and it's hard to just say, let's axe the preseason games. And we've also seen, too, since the movement of guys really not playing that much in preseason games, we really look at like the first month of the NFL, and it's a watered-down version of what the NFL is. So I think they don't want to – it's a very fine line trying to figure out how to either get more action out of it or take it out and do – like it's a tough thing to figure out.
Well, look, you're going to see the Chiefs play their starters for a full half, and you're probably not going to see them play the third game of the preseason.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of the way it's been. The last game of preseason is just the starters don't sit. They don't play. They sit, and then they have the other guys who are going to make the team play the majority of the time and kind of get the last little look. So it's something that it's always going to be a conversation because they added the 17th game, and once you do that, now it's opened up that door of like, oh, let's get an 18th.
Yeah.
Might as well just play all 20 games, regular season games.
Just creeping toward it. Let's
make
it 20.
That's just a lot. You're talking about injuries. That's hard on the players. It's hard on the guys to play 20 full games, then have a playoff.
Then the playoffs.
You know, so like, I just don't see the PA ever.
I mean, if the NFL could, they would play 365 games. Like if they're like, let's stretch this thing out, cover the entire calendar year.
The whole year, might as well. Yeah.
Baseball's got what?
Actually, let's make it 2 seasons.
Yeah.
You have a 20-game season,
like Entourage,
and then we'll do
like
a
best
10-game
year.
seasons or something in the spring. You know, like this is like kind of your spring
ball.
Season. Yeah.
And that seeds you for where you are in the division, who you get to play.
Yeah, maybe.
No,
never gonna happen. Hey, you know what? This could be me because I'm not in like a clubhouse as much anymore. Anymore, actually. Not as much, just at all. Different type of clubhouse.
It'd be weird if you were.
Love clubhouse.
Yeah.
You know? Has the Little League World Series kind of lost some luster?
I think that's us getting older.
Okay. That's what I think.
Yeah, because
I don't see it. It's not as in my face on ESPN as it used to be. And maybe that's just because I'm not maybe watching as much.
Right. It's a convolution of things where we don't watch as much ESPN as we used to. And we're not like actively seeking out. I'm not going to ESPN2 if the Little League World Series is on ESPN1. But when you were 12 to 19, I guess, even then, like the first year of college, you're still kind of watching the Little League World Series. Like I remember Curacao, and then Lil Wayne rapped about him.
I think it's lost its luster a little bit in the sense of this. Like, it's funny you say that. I was just having a conversation with someone who actually coaches, Chris McGee, right? Coaches a 9 or 10-year-old team, and he was like, dude, we played multiple 10-year-old teams this year that would have beaten these 12-year-old teams that are playing
Right.
right now. And so the birth of travel ball and the competition that's in travel ball and how much those kids play, all these kids at that age know. Now, look, don't get me wrong, 10, 12, 15, it doesn't matter what it is. They all want to be playing on TV. So I guess I would imagine it's cool for them to see kids playing on TV. But, yeah, it's lost its luster a little bit, and I think it's because of how much travel ball has progressed and how competitive travel ball is now.
And you know those travel ball kids that are on those like select teams, like we beat the brakes off.
Well,
this
and that's
team.
look to his point. When I was playing travel ball, they used to have the Little League World Series team in Lake Charles. I think that's where it came from when I was younger. Lafayette Little League wasn't huge, so I didn't play Lafayette League. We played travel ball, but they would have Lake Charles there would have a travel ball team that they would pick beginning of the season, play travel ball tournaments. Then they would do the normal like league Little League, and then they'd pick their all-star team, and that all-star team was that travel ball team.
Yeah.
That's what they would do. And we would play that travel ball team in tournaments, and we would 10-run roll.
Yeah.
Like beat the now. All the guys not every guy on our team could have played in the Lafayette League because there's some from Morgan City and like different areas, but like
that's the beauty of travel ball.
yeah. Now this is before travel ball was like what it is now. Like it was not what it is
That's
now.
where high schools got the idea of like we can just move this kid into the district. Like we're gonna start building a travel ball team in high schools.
Yeah.
Like
So-
relocate and zoning.
So like that to that point, like that's I can understand now. Did you see that kid? So the bats are juiced, by the way. I obviously like.
I mean, the kid had the
Did you see that kid?
he gave one of these right here.
Did you see off the?
Hey, his wrist was
black
broken
cap
behind
off
the plate,
Yeah.
and the ball went off the.
In the
off
other
the
batter's box, flick the wrist, don't finish the swing. Ball hits the cameraman hitting on the elevated
in center field.
platform.
Guys just got power.
Dead central. Like hits it, gets around it with his bat and just goes whoop,
That's
and
elite
then
wrist
home
flexion.
run. Way back. Like
There was
center-
another kid throwing a
Mexico,
damn near 100.
Mexico threw a no hitter.
The kid that was throwing 77.
Equivalent
Yeah.
to 100. 3
That's
walks.
BBs from 40 feet,
Yeah.
bro.
Go. And he was dotting it up.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what else I don't love? You know what I don't love about it? I'll be honest with you, and I guess I get it, man. Like it's that age that it just is what it is. But boy, it's hard watching the strike zone in them in that league, man. There's stuff that's in the middle of the other batter's box that's called, and the kids are like, "Huh?" And then
What?
they just jog off because they can't say anything.
Sir.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
You would
So-
think that they would be better, right?
No, they're all. I mean, it's not
But do
about.
they
There's
give
no
lip-
way they think that strikes. It's meaning like the umpires. I know
Yeah,
they
but-
don't, but they're
but
thinking
here's-
we have to move this game
That's
along.
the thing.
But
They
they
gotta
That's
move
what
it along.
the umpires don't really believe that a ball this far off is a strike. It's like, bro, I gotta call this. You gotta be up here swinging.
I mean, you can't.
That age would never be able to stick over
No.
17 and a half inches. Right? It just wouldn't happen.
No, not at all. But yeah, so I was thinking about that today when I was watching. I saw it on TV. And I was like, man, I didn't even like know it was Little League World Series time. And then now that it's on, it's like, this is it.
Oh.
Wait, no, I thought you were just showing the homer.
This kid got rung up. Well, up and
Yeah,
in.
That's tough. Good take.
Good take.
Good. Mexico seems like they're
A force.
yeah. You know who I hope is a force is LSU football. We're gonna get into that now because we got 15 minutes.
It's called a lead in.
And we gotta lead into it. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, a
From the
lead.
producer
L-E-D-E.
world. Hey, this is the lead in. D.
L-E-D-E is a lead.
Oh,
I know it's spelled differently.
L-E-D-E.
Yeah, that's how you spell the lead in the broadcasting world.
Oh, is that really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Why do they spell it that way?
No clue.
Why would they misspell a word on purpose?
So they can make it a new one in the
I'm
dictionary.
confused. I'm very confused. Why would you misspell a word
It's not
that has
misspell. It's just a word that isn't. It's used specifically
L-E-D-E.
for this. Mm-hmm.
and it's spelled lead?
The opening sentence or paragraph of a news article.
Okay. There you
Oxford. But that's why they made it like, oh, it's actually because
Yeah,
everybody go
put your
L-E-A-D.
nose up type
like,
thing?
Come on,
Yeah.
it's actually L-E-D-E.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
nerd.
go. Okay.
Locker.
You have in our document that you are so,
Fine tune.
you are so gracious to
Bless
put
you
your
with.
soul and heart,
Heart.
and soul and tears and blood, and
Blood.
sweat in this.
Carpal tunnel.
And this is not being sarcastic. It is very well done. You have some snippets of an article that is from, inside sources, so to speak, with the team. And there's some interesting things that were said in the article about guys that are stepping up, maybe guys that you may see more of that you weren't expecting or hoping to see maybe. And one of those guys is Dominic McKinley. They say that he has obviously shown a bunch of flashes. He is a freshman. They say he's definitely going to play. What does that mean? What is it playing a lot? What does that mean for him? That was the conversation that Jared had asked. What does that mean? Does that mean he's going to start? I don't think that means he's going to start right now. Does that mean he's going to be like rotating in very consistently? I don't know. Does it mean he's going to get like a Deshaun Womack type of treatment this year?
Certainly means he ain't redshirting.
Certainly means he's going to get an opportunity to show that he can play more. That's what I would think. To me, it can't hurt. You need the bodies on the defensive line.
Well, and it goes to show like how exactly what you said, how many bodies you need on the defensive line, because you've seen Brian Kelly not be real quick to play freshman if he doesn't absolutely have to. Like you saw it with Deshaun Womack last year, where you're kind of head scratching why he didn't get on the field. Same thing with Whit Weeks, and he's like, "Look, they're not ready. I know you want to see them and they flashed when they played, but I'm telling you, I watch them every day, and they're not ready for this amount of workload, and they're going to make mistakes. I'm putting them in position to succeed." And now with Dom McKinley, it's like, buddy, we need you. And so it won't be in the starter's role, but I think it'll be more. I compared it to Mason Smith his freshman year, where it felt like you kept seeing him. And you're like, it's probably time for him to start. And he started like the last 5 games of the year, but he flashed early, but he didn't play a lot. So he didn't play in the opener, but then he started the second game, and then you saw it kind of manifest itself from there to where he started getting a lot of run. And I think he played 85 plays against Ole Miss, and that was not great.
For me, I swear, if there was any position group, when it comes to LSU and it comes to progression and it comes to getting acclimated to big-time college football, if there was any position group that I wish got a chance to see a lesser talented team out the gate, it would be the D-line. Like, I think this D-line, especially this D-line, they just need an opportunity to kind of, how is this rotation going to work? How many guys are we going to need to run in and out of there? Who's ready to play? Who's ready to get a heavier workload? I think that group really needs that, and that's the group that I'm really going to be looking at when it comes to their opener in Vegas against USC. But obviously, you don't have that luxury, and I think that's the group that to me, has the biggest questions, because it all starts up front. If they're not good enough to be able to withstand what you're going to get on the other side up front, then it's going to be tough to ask anybody else on the defense to look good.
Yeah.
So like that's the part of the team that I'm interested in seeing out the gate and kind of see what they do.
Anything else? Any other snippets that caught your eye? There's a couple more that caught mine, but
I'll pass it around the room. I think there's one.
I don't
Obviously,
want to hog the show.
No, I think another one along the defensive line is they talked about Gabe Relaford, which is no surprise to me. If you've been out there and you've seen it, he was somebody that didn't get the benefit of. No, he did. He got to come in early because he committed in the early season, graduated from Evangel, came in early, and you're seeing those reps pay off because he was an early enrollee, and he was somebody that came in polished, and he's going to look like he'll play a significant amount, even at a position that's loaded in defensive end, where you have Parrish Shand, Deshaun Womack, Swinson. Like, you have a lot of guys that can play that position. Relaford's done enough, and Parrish Shand, obviously, but Relaford's done enough to be able to make a name for himself and be out there, which I think is impressive. Another freshman. But and here's my thing. I think that it's one of those things where you don't really want to rely on the freshman, and you're hoping that the 4 guys that you have, 5, 6 guys that you have that are not freshmen are going to be good enough early on to be able to allow these guys to ease their way in. What you really hope is you get to put Relaford in there and you put Dominic McKinley in there, and you allow them to kind of figure this thing out in a normal way, and then they end up being really good, and they work their way into the rotation. That way you're not putting a lot of pressure on them early on. That would be the ideal situation. Is that going to happen? I don't know. Guillory is obviously a veteran. He's been there for a while. He's shown flashes of being really good. Paez comes in. You'd imagine he's going to be pretty solid. He gets to play a new position.
Right.
Yeah.
And he gets to play probably a position he's more suited for.
Yeah.
As far as not playing a nose tackle and playing more of a defensive tackle position. And then you got, you have some other bodies in there, obviously Suggs, and you got Chemo. Can someone say his last name? That guy? The converted offensive lineman to the defensive line. Apparently he's been getting worn out as far as the coaching goes, which to me is a good sign, to me, that means they see some potential in him, and they see that, like, hey, they're maybe just staying on him and on him and on him so he continues to get better.
Well, you wouldn't coach a guy if you didn't think you would need him.
Exactly, right? And that's what they say, right? If I'm only hard on you because I care about you type of thing. And, like, sounds kind of coach speaking cliche, but it really is true.
You usually see that transition go the opposite way around. You usually see it go from defensive line to offensive line, not offensive line to defensive line. But I'll touch on it again because as I read through our doc and kind of go through everything, like Brian Kelly also stressed the importance of tackling for LSU safeties. What do you think that means?
I don't know.
If I'm stressing the importance of tackling, what do you think that means?
It means
I don't know.
I'm joking. What is it to reinforce it? Means they did not make many tackles last year.
Well, why? What does that mean? The ball keeps
because
getting
the ball keeps getting to the third level. And they're missing tackles.
So once again, that lets me know that's another way of stressing. Look, I don't know exactly where we are up front. I don't know how often the ball will pop into that second and third level. I need y'all to be very good at tackling because it's overlooked, but it's a very hard thing to do, right? I think that's another way he's kind of saying, like, listen, I'm putting the onus on y'all to be better tacklers because I expect the ball maybe to get here a little more than often, right? And that's possible. So we'll see if that kind of, plays into this whole situation.
The other thing, staying on the defensive side that I saw or that was mentioned is Greg Penn's a veteran, right? Greg Penn, at the end of last year, you kind of saw him trying to elevate his play, and the linebacker group felt like they were probably the best group out of the three on the defensive side, and a lot of that is because of him understanding the defenses, understanding the calls, being able to get the calls in and out without having the mic and stuff in his helmet. There's been talks about maybe putting the green dot on Harold Perkins' helmet and just letting Greg Penn call the plays the same way he called them last year. If he can do that, and that's what Jared was saying, is like that's kind of an interesting strategy for them to take, which could be very beneficial.
Yeah, it's super interesting, and to me, it makes me feel like they plan on using Harold in multiple ways, right? Like maybe there is spots where we use him. It seems like, hey, if we got a guy that can call this defense without us having to call it in his helmet, and that we got a guy who's an absolute dog and can move all around, and we want him to move all around, let's take a little off his plate by being able to help him more as closely as we can, while this other guy can run the defense without us being in his ear. New way of being. I've never really heard it used like that. But if it's going to be used like that and you can use it like that, it's pretty damn impressive. Yeah. And it's also, I'll give even more love to Penn on this. Let's be honest, like he's called defenses in the past. This is a brand new defense. Yeah. Blake Baker's coming in and installing a brand new defense, and if he's able to pick stuff up like that from day one in this defense, I don't give a damn what defenses he's called in the past with the green dot. If he's able to do it like this right now, that's impressive. You got to give him a little bit of love for that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of this. First of all, I don't know why it would be illegal, but I've just never heard of it happening before. And if I was trying to think of what you would do on the offensive side, like obviously you would always want to be in the quarterback's ear, but Peyton Manning probably could call his own game.
Yeah, but on the offensive side, like who would you need to put it on?
Right, I know. That's what I'm saying. Defensively, it's where it's ultimately at the advantage, especially they've talked about they wanted multiple green dots on defense. Coaches have come out and said that they wanted 3, and they got taken down to 1. They're like, we're not doing that. It's experimental already.
Multiple green dots, that feels like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, but they'd all be getting the same call. It's just so you can call every level of the defense, right. I'd imagine. But they were trying to take signaling completely out of it, and they said on the defensive side, there's no difference with just one green dot.
You think Stallions is a big reason why they want to do that?
Yeah, well, not anymore.
He's a defensive coordinator in high school now.
God damn it! That's
I honestly think the only other way you could do it on offense, man,
just a curtain call.
Not bad.
The only other way you could do it on offense is if you have a guy who is somebody that you use kind of like as a Swiss Army knife,
like a Percy Harvin,
and he's going to move all around. He's going to motion here. He's going to do a lot of. He's going to take routes from the X, the Y, the Z, the W. He's going to do all of these things, and you don't want him to have to be thinking about it. That's a possibility, but then also too, if he's doing a lot of that stuff, there's a good chance that he's probably on and off the field a lot too. Yeah. So then you're probably not using it half the time. Whereas when you're on defense, there's a good chance that Harold Perkins is going to be on the field for 98% of the snaps, health willing this year.
Yeah.
yeah, I need that to be on his helmet. Same thing with the guy. Same thing if you're calling our defense. You're probably on the field 90+% of the snaps. I need you to be calling the defense. So that'd be my only other person I think you could possibly do it with on offense if you tried to use that same method. But he's not going to be on the field as much.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say like that's why it's such an advantage specifically for defense because it really doesn't bear any weight on offense. For like I said, with the coaches wanting this to be a thing and LSU finding a way to kind of make it a thing,
right?
I feel like that's a massive advantage, or it could be.
And look, I think that him having it, like you said, it being an advantage, I think part of it is like, and it's not that I don't think he can handle.
No, it just
like
takes
bringing in the signals and stuff. It allows him to play that fast, aggressive way that everybody wants him to play. Is it going to be beneficial long term in his career?
I don't know. And look, you got to think too. There's another way they could possibly be using it in the sense of, all right, let's get it on him early. We talk the game through to him early on in the season, and maybe there's stuff that they know he knows, but for whatever reason initially he questions himself about.
Yeah.
And he doesn't play it as fast. So they're like, hey, let's make sure we give him that reassurance of what he's thinking and what he's thought in those situations. And as we see him start playing super fast, he may not never need that anymore.
Well, and he's going to be playing multiple positions.
Right.
So
and that's the biggest part of it.
And that's the other thing, right? Like if he was only playing inside, hey, you're going to be the guy. Every play, that's where you're going to be. It'd be a little bit different. But he's playing inside, outside. They're probably going to put him in coverage some. Like it's just he's going to be in a bunch of different situations, and I think this is their way of making sure that he understands. Not necessarily understands because he does understand it, but making sure everybody's clear on, hey, in this look with this situation, this is what you got. I think it's an interesting way to go about it.
Especially with, I know Penn was only a freshman. That was Blake's first year also. That was his first year on the staff as a linebackers coach. So they are familiar with each other, but I don't think that.
Wait, no, right?
2021.
I thought Blake Baker was at Missouri for 2 years, right?
Just
he got there for the beginning of the 22 season. I believe.
Yeah, so 21. That was the only year on staff.
Blake Baker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Harold was.
No, I'm talking about Greg Penn.
Oh, you're talking about Penn. My bad. I was out there about Harold Perkins. My fault.
No.
I was like, that's not right. But yes, good. What?
Coonson.
Oh, nice. Look at that. He's early. He's early and prompt. I would expect nothing less. Look, perfect lead in.
There you go.
LEDE.
Don't overuse it now.
LEDE to
People
our
expect
next,
a lot out of you.
Our next guest, and I'm all tangled up, but friend of the show, back on the saddle of like coming in weekly here with football right around the corner. Obviously, he's been involved
with Daddy Strength.
Been a part, yeah. Hey, first football season with Daddy Strength, and like being a dad, you're gonna have a lot of early morning, late night feedings. That you're gonna get some Pac-12 after dark. If the Pac-12's not even there anymore, though.
I know. Well, Pac-2.
Big 10, Big 12 after dark, I think would be the next thing. ACC after dark, maybe going cross country when they're playing on the West Coast. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about LSU and all of the things that Bryce has seen at LSU or heard at LSU or written about LSU and college football. Welcome back to the show, friend of the show, friend of Lloyd's, friend of mine, friend of Jared's. Bryce Koon, welcome.
What's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
Hey, before we get into LSU, how happy are you right now with what the Falcons are doing, signing everybody?
They better win. I mean, they better win. I think I said on the show last year, right after the Saints just embarrassed the Falcons in New Orleans, I said I'm done. I think I renounced my fandom on the show.
You did?
So
you did?
I did. So I think
wishy-washy fan. It sounds like you are.
Oh,
yeah,
most definitely. Sound like Yoda.
Most
you
definitely.
do. Wishy-washy fan you are.
Yeah, y'all have made some big moves. Makes it very challenging for the division. Makes it very challenging for the Saints because the Saints, if you haven't been paying attention, don't have very many offensive linemen that are good. So that's a nervous.
Yeah.
It makes me nervous.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see kind of how it goes.
How's the baby doing? How's everybody handling the new adjustment and the new addition to the family?
Yeah, we had family here, my wife's parents and my parents here almost all summer. Both sides are kind of like school teachers and administrators, so they got to hang out a lot during the summer. And it was good, man. It went well. Baby's doing fantastic. Mom is killing it. I think I might have mentioned this before. My wife is she would run half marathons and marathons before the pregnancy, and she's already back up to like 4 miles.
Oh,
she's
wow.
running. So she's killing it. She's 10 times the athlete that I am, and 10 times the dedication that I could ever put to something like that.
Well, congratulations. But let's get to the nitty gritty of this LSU football team and what to expect and what you've seen. We've talked a little bit about it over the last 10, 15 minutes. The big question marks on the defensive side of the football were the defensive line and the secondary, right? I think that obviously defensive line they want to have more depth. They have some talented guys there. A lot of them are young. They're talking about Dominic McKinley. He said he's gonna play. He's gonna play a lot. What does that mean? Like that could mean any number of things because he's a freshman. Is he gonna be able to potentially be a starter, or is he only gonna play, seldomly, but which is a lot for a freshman?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this interior defensive line group, I mean, the big thing that's kind of stood out to us in fall camp so far, you have 2 guys that should be starting. No doubt about it. Those are your frontline starters. Jacoby and Guillory, he kind of got banged up with an injury a couple days ago. He was out there the next day and looked full go. And he's kind of the vocal leader, I would say. He's the guy that's going to get in Emory Jones's face and talk a little smack back and forth. And then you have Gio Paez, the Wisconsin transfer, which we talked to him on Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe. And he was great. And I would just categorize him as a high floor player. He's a veteran going into his 6th year. He's not going to embarrass you out there, which LSU had at times. The defense was embarrassing at times last year. But I think he's going to be able to hold his own. He did say he wants to learn, from Bo Davis on becoming a little more active with his hands, and we were able to see some of that just in terms of getting off blocks, shedding blockers, and stuff like that. Those 2 guys, you feel like are going to be the starting 2 when they roll into USC. After that, I mean, you mentioned Dominic McKinley. I'll say this for being out there, he has the size. He is 310, 315. He's every bit of what his reported weight is, maybe a little more. And it's not a lot of baby fat either. He's put on some really good weight over the summer. The one thing I would say is he's got to become more polished. And look, it's a lot to ask for a freshman to come in and just be a dude right off the bat. I think he was able to rely on a lot of his athleticism, his size, his sheer strength at the high school level. But LSU's going to need him to become more polished. He was working exclusively, actually a little bit with Kevin Peoples, who coaches the edges, just on handwork, just the ability to get your hands on the guy in front of you before he takes control. And so whether that's slapping the hands down, whether that's a bull rush, whether it's just a twist or anything like that, he's leaning on the 2 guys that I mentioned because he's going to have to be counted on. When you look at that room as well, Sean Washington is a transfer from the JUCO ranks. I've been kind of impressed with how consistent he's been. I think he's a guy that if you played tomorrow, he would have to give you 10, 15, maybe 20 snaps. And then outside of that, you have a category of guys in JVR Suggs, the Division II transfer, Jalen Lee, Ahmad Bro to a certain extent. But that's for me where if you're having to dig that deep into the bag per se, that could be a problem. But it's also a reason, in 2-minute situations and certain 3rd down rush packages, they have this, and Blake Baker talked a little bit about this, and so did Harold Perkins. They have this front they're running called a prowler front, and essentially what they're doing is it's athletes all over the field. They have kind of gotten rid of. They might throw Jacoby and Guillory in there, but it's essentially a front with just a bunch of defensive ends playing on the line of scrimmage. They got Savion Jones and Paris Shand, who are a bit heavier, kind of manning the inside, speed guys on the outside. Whit Weeks is in that formation. So it's a little more athletic in terms of if you're going up against a 2-minute offense, but I think Baker's been creative with it. And look, Bo Davis, he leaves no stone unturned when you talk about, just the way he coaches this guys. It's very colorful. A lot of not safe for work video that I've got on my phone in terms of the language he uses. But the guys are responding. And I think that's the biggest thing. And, you guys have been coached by so many different people too. Kids either respond to that or they back away from it. And I feel like that the room has grown in terms of maybe some mental strength, mental fortitude to be able to handle that. And we even had Paris Shand say, if you can handle what Kevin Peoples and Bo Davis are telling you, that's going to pay off big dividends when you get into USC and some of these big SEC games.
That's what you call the old Mustang package from John Chavis.
Oh, is that what that is,
That's
huh?
what it was,
It's just
yeah.
different. Now it's a Prowler package.
I like that one better.
Yeah, Prowler sounds better than Mustang. You know, it's kind of more
21st century.
Yeah, more modern day. You being at practice, I'm assuming you've been able to go out and like see with your own two eyes. What's something that stood out to you that we haven't, maybe that most people haven't really hit on?
I think this has been said. I listen to local radio, and I think that certain people have kind of brought this up that maybe this is a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. The offense has struggled against this defense at times. When this team goes into an 11-on-11 period, the defense is winning almost an even amount of battles as the offense. For every 10 reps they're playing, 10 plays they're playing, the defense is winning 5 to 6 of those, while the offense might be winning on average 5 to 6. So it's been pretty even. And I think even going into last season, fall camp was just Jay Daniels, Brian Thomas Jr., and Malik Neighbors having a field day. And we were worried. We were like, okay, this could be a problem. This year, I'm not going to say this defense is going to be top 20, top 30. I do think they're going to be better. It's hard to be much worse than they were last year, but it's just the competitive nature that they're playing with. Going back to last year, I think it's safe to say they had a couple bad apples that they got through the portal. They had a couple guys that didn't gel well with the locker room. This group this year feels very well connected. And so when we report that the defense is winning some battles, when we report, that Ashton Stamps is doing a good job in coverage on Kyron Lacey, like Lacey's winning some of these, but Ashton Stamps is winning some as well. I don't think it's a concern about the offense. I still think this is a really good offense with all the potential to be top 20, top 15, maybe top 10, this season. I think it's just more an indictment of this is what you hired Brian Kelly to do. And this is why Brian Kelly revamped the entire defensive staff, so that you would have this defense be able to have a ton of internal development, and the guys that you got in the portal could be contributors. Like, this is what championship level football is supposed to look like. Now, it's not consistent enough for me to say that they're going to be, I'm penciling into my 12-team playoff right now. Like, it has to be better. But I think because last year was so bad, a lot of people are kind of scared to say that the defense looks terrible in one-on-ones. Well, those are geared more towards the receivers and quarterbacks. They look bad in 7-on-7. Once again, Garrett Nussmeier, while he's been very good, he's throwing in 7-on-7 with no defensive lineman or Harold Perkins in his face. So when they go to 11-on-11, I have been pleasantly surprised with the competitive nature. And I think a lot of people have taken that as a concern for the offense or a concern for one side of the ball. Maybe I'm being a little too naive. I just think it's more of this is what a good fall camp and good competition is supposed to look like.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I kind of want to touch on the offense a little bit, because the noise around LSU when it comes to it is the expectations are tempered simply because people look at it as, oh, they didn't bring in this and that through the portal, so what did you actually feel? When people, like you said, don't really realize the coaching up and the kind of spirited defense you're kind of getting on the other side, and how much more that can do for a team and their progression and where they can go with that. So when I go back to the offensive, it being, you have really, like, honestly, truly one player on the offensive side when it comes to the receiving core that had substantial time on the field in Kyron Lacey. He's played a big role in the past, right? You have a new quarterback stepping in. You have some guys who have some talent. What is it looking like in the way that they've gelled and how they've come along on the offense when it comes to the passing game specifically? And what do you think the ceiling of that side of the ball could be this year?
Tell Nussmeier stop staring down his damn targets.
Well, I'll say this, and Major Birds had a pick yesterday, and I think it made it to social media as we were leaving practice. It was a bad throw by Nuss, and the defense took advantage. So they're not without fault, Jared. Like, I think that for every bad play the offense make, it isn't just, well, that's just bad offense. Like, the defense is making good plays. But kind of to your point, like, I'll start with that wide receiver room. Like, Kyron Lacey has been, I think, everything that fans wanted him to be coming into this season. The focus, I mean, I have mentioned this to, I'd say, when we talk with Joe Sloan, when we talked with Nussmeier, and when we talk with Lacey, there's a similar, now I'm not comparing the two players, but the way they're going about their business in terms of a level of seriousness and focus, it's almost kind of like when we talked with Malik Neighbors last offseason, it's the same focus. Like, now I'm not saying they're going to be, both top 10 picks or anything like that, but just the way that he saw how Neighbors and Thomas did it, and it feels like he's trying to mirror that. And in terms of, the way he's getting in and out of his breaks, the way that he is, being very meticulous about his route running, like that's something I think if you're a fan of LSU, you're sitting there saying, well, this is the stuff we want to hear. And then outside of that, I mean, look, it's now or never for Chris Hilton. I think Chris Hilton has a fantastic story. It's a fantastic opportunity. I wrote a piece and tweeted out a clip of the interview I got with him, of him talking about, what he's been through, how he really didn't know if he wanted to play football anymore, and just what it means to have the chance to be really a high-profile target in this offense. And he said it's one that you don't want to, let slip by. And I would wholeheartedly agree. Like, Hilton is just a guy that, to me, oozes with potential. Ever since he's got on campus, he's been that. Now's the time. But like you mentioned, it's a lot of untapped potential. We haven't seen him realize that, whether it's due to just you have 2 first-rounders like you did last year or injuries. And then C.J. Daniels is another guy that just continues to show up consistently. I think in the spring, we were all kind of concerned a little bit because he was working with the second team. And that's the transfer from Liberty for people who don't know. But Daniel's big body receiver, and he is physical, and he is a guy that just makes plays consistently. So all of that to say is the way that Nussmeier and this offense have gelled together, especially in the passing game. Nussmeier's a more vocal leader than Jaden Daniels was. Doesn't mean it's better or worse, but he's just more vocal. You can tell and you can see the camaraderie between these guys. Like, if they're playing one-on-ones in the red zone, he throws the ball to Kyron Lacey in the corner, or C.J. Daniels on a slant, or Chris Hilton on a fade route, Xavier Thomas, any of these guys.
Aaron Anderson.
Nussmeier is the guy that's, he's running straight up to the receiver before they even get the ball back to the line of scrimmage, and they're celebrating, having fun. And so I think that, and in talking with Nussmeier, even down at the Manning Passing Academy, I guess that's been a month ago now, he said he took it upon himself. Like, they wanted to build chemistry on and off the field because they've seen, like, to your point, how good that offense was last year. That doesn't just happen because when you step out on the football field, you got to have relationships off of it. So I've been impressed with that. And when you add in a healthy Mason Taylor, a tight end room that I think is, on paper, has the potential to be one of the best of the SEC, a running back room with a veteran like Josh Williams, Caleb Jackson. This offense, to me, it can be one of the best in the SEC again. I mean, to be number one again is very hard. Like, I've told fans that's not easy to do. But the expectations offensively for this group should still be up there. I mean, like top 10, top 15. Is Nussmeier going to be a little more aggressive? Is that going to be a little more high risk, high reward maybe than Daniels was at times last year? Maybe so. But I think if he capitalizes on more of the good than he does the bad, then you're looking at an offense that should have sky-high expectations, should be able to get you into a college football playoff.
Do you talk a lot about the receivers? Obviously, the name guys that you had mentioned, right? C.J. Daniels, he's a transfer. Everybody expects him to go. Kyron Lacey, everybody expects him to be the number one. You talked about Hilton being the guy, and Aaron Anderson, all these other guys. Is there a receiver that maybe is kind of making waves or something that people aren't super high on or have been talking much about? Has just been super solid from the entire camp, and that the coaching staff, you can kind of maybe see them putting him in and giving him more opportunity?
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday on our 24/7 Sports podcasts, just about who would be able to entrench themselves in that receiver 4, 5, and 6 role. The big three, like we talked about, Taylor's going to be a big part of the passing game. But I've kind of sat with, a lot of people thought coming in that Xavier Thomas and Aaron Anderson were the same player. And look, when we go into one-on-ones and we get to watch that, like, they're throwing fade routes to Xavier Thomas. Like, he's a guy who can go up and high point a football. Now, not the biggest dude in the room. I think they're using him a little bit more to where maybe I thought he was just kind of a gadget player like Aaron Anderson. They're using him in a lot of different ways. So I would say Xavier Thomas is a guy. Aaron Anderson has been solid. And then I'm going to throw this name out here because it's been fun to watch him. It's a guy who's just been marred with injuries, but you go back to when he was in high school, he was playing on the bootleggers. He was really impressive playing with a lot of really good college talent, and that's Landon Ibieta. Like, this guy has been just constant in terms of a possession receiver, running good routes, and just being a guy you can count on. And that's one of the biggest things I think that this staff cares about. Like, you've probably got other guys in that room that are more talented, that God-given talent, but Ibieta just kind of keeps showing up. And it's just, it's one of those guys, he just doesn't really go away. And he's been working in with the ones, and that's Joe Sloan said they want to do that to build that chemistry. But, I don't see a reason why, if he doesn't keep showing that he can consistently catch the football, he can run a good route, he can find ways to get open, like, I don't care what your star ranking is or what your name is or how much your NIL package is, like, you got to get on the football field. And so Ivieto's been a guy that I think for a lot of the media members, it's like, oh, yeah, like, this kid's pretty good. He's just had to battle a lot of injuries. And, we've gotten to see that a couple times, catching passes in traffic, creating separation against first-team defensive players. Like, he's been special, and he's had some plays. So if he does that consistently, they're going to throw to more than just two guys, unlike they did last year. So, if you can get 5-6 deep in this receiver room, and then you talk about maybe one or two tight ends, maybe three, with Trey'Dez Green in that fold, I think Ivy could make a case when they go 5 wide and someone needs to be subbed out, like, he could fit in the slot somewhere. So I know that's one where fans are like, oh, yeah, like, I forgot about him. But he's been just constant, not super flashy, but just a guy that consistently makes plays. And I think that matters to Cortez Hankton, Joe Sloan, and Brian Kelly.
Oh, Vince Papale.
Lloyd's been waiting to say that so long.
Yeah. You were just waiting for me to shut up.
That was
waiting to say that.
I stopped listening 30 seconds ago.
He's a grinder. He's gritty. All the adjectives.
Yeah. Lloyd's been jumping in, waiting to say that. Look, I would imagine his ability to stay on third down is going to have a large dealing on how this kind of shakes out. But if you were going to cut a promo for what you were to see out of Caleb Jackson this year, please give me something what you got on this right now.
Oh, gosh. You hit the nail right on the head, though, Jared, like his ability to stay on third down. But if we're cutting a promo for this kid, like, this is a guy that sells tickets. Like, he's worth the price of admission. I mean, I know you guys saw the clip probably of him just – and, look, I love Whit Weeks. And in Whit Weeks' defense, that getting trucked forced a fourth down. That's one thing a lot of people are not talking about. Like, he got trucked, but Caleb Jackson was 2 yards short of the first down, and so it forced a fourth down.
Yeah.
But, guys, there's not a lot of people that want to get in his way. And the Leonard Fournette comps continue to spill out of camp of, like, what he can do. This kid is explosive. And if he's utilized more in the passing game, I genuinely don't know how you defend him. Because there's only so many times over the course of 60 minutes you're going to be willing to go head-on-head with this guy. And we saw that early in fall camp. And shout out to Jawan Johnson out of Lafayette Christian, who that was a guy who early on, I think he wanted to prove himself, and he started to try to, like, size up Caleb Jackson. And he did it for about 3 plays, 3 reps in a row, and then that was it. Like, no one else really wants to get in front of him.
He's not on campus for that, yeah.
Yeah, it's
quarterback.
Just one of those things. It's just one of those things with Caleb Jackson. Like, it's worth the price of admission. Like, you pay $80-90 to get in, and you get to see this kid play. Like, this is probably one of the next – if everything continues, this is probably one of the next great running backs, not just to come out of LSU, but maybe out of the SEC, because he is the total package in terms of running with the football, yards after catch, just speed, power combo. And those guys aren't a dime a dozen. Like, they're special talent. So I would say it's worth the price of admission if you get to see 28 suit up.
Flipping it back to the other side of the football, we talked about the secondary. Obviously, it seems like Ashton Stamps is cornerback 1, right? Everybody thought coming in, Zy Alexander is going to be back. He was a veteran. He looked good last year. It doesn't seem like he's going to be ready until maybe the middle of the season. So that opens up the other side for some of these other guys. J.K. Johnson's been getting mentioned. P.J. Woodland's been getting mentioned. And I think that there's some conversations about them wanting him to become the number 2 guy at some point in the year. What's your feel on that? What are you hearing on that? What are you seeing on that?
Yeah, I would agree with your sentiment of that's what they want. Right now, I mean, when we see the ones go out there, it's been Sage Ryan that's been the corner. And I know that's a much debated topic of conversation amongst LSU fans, regardless of what site you're on or what podcast you're listening to. But Sage Ryan has been that guy over there for them right now. But I do agree with you. I mean, Zy Alexander, once he gets healthy, and he's been running a little bit. Like, he's from the last time we saw him, there was no sleeve or anything. So I think that's encouraging. But Brian Kelly said that that type of injury is such a mental battle at this point. Like, he's cleared. It's trusting that knee, when you plant and go the opposite direction, isn't going to give out on you. So I think that's his biggest hurdle that he's got to clear. But I think it's going to eventually be Zy. But you mentioned P.J. Woodland. Like, you see it in spurts. you see what he can do, and he put on some good weight. He was real small. When
What's
he came
What's he
Still-
weighing now? Where's he at right now?
Is he still 160 pounds?
163.
I don't know. He's probably around 165,
Soaking wet
170
or
in
like
that range.
bone dry?
Well, that's soaking wet coming out of the shower with his pads on. Like that's probably what he's close to.
Holding a
But,
can of Coke.
Oh, boy.
In all seriousness, I mean, you start to see some of those guys. The potential's there. It's just, I think, you have to learn how to not just rely on athleticism. Like you have to understand what you're doing. You know, inside leverage, outside leverage, and Woodland was a guy, and we talked about this a little bit with a couple of the corners and Ashton Stamps included. Like everybody wants to play man. Like if you're a corner and you don't want to play man, then you need to not play corner because that's where the pride comes in. And learning different zone concepts, learning all this type of stuff, and how to become just a more complete defensive back. I think that's like the next hurdle for these guys. But it's been Sage Ryan, and like I'll be honest with you, and I'm not attacking any kid. Like I think these are all great kids. I'll say that, but I think that Sage has to stay at corner personally. I think we saw in the spring game when you put him and Jordan Gilbert back there at safety, you could get lit up. And I've liked seeing Jordan Allen back there, Deshaun. I call him the artist formerly known as Deshaun McBride. He's now Deshaun Spears. He's looked really good back there. The Toviano situation, I mean, he's another guy that you could put somewhere as they kind of work him back in the rotation. So there's a lot of options. It's just kind of been Sage Ryan. And I know that's talked about. Look, PFF came out, I guess, 2 months ago and said Sage Ryan didn't give up a touchdown. And I don't necessarily believe that. But it's one of those things where he's been there. He's a veteran.
He's a guy.
They've got some options. He's a guy. He's a guy that you got on the field. But like you said, Mikey, I think the biggest thing is they would love to see Woodland, even Jair Brown to a certain extent. Yeah. J.K. Johnson. They'd love to see those guys assume that role because I think that's a little bit more of what they want in that room.
Speaking of guy or guys, give me your unabridged thoughts on the special teams unit, specifically the kicking game coming out of LSU and out of camp. Mm-hmm.
Lloyd, I know you've obviously been reading the message boards.
I've seen it. I've seen it live with my 2 eyes.
Yeah,
tasted it with my mouth. Two guys.
The punting game could be an issue. And USC, if you go back and look, they blocked, like they were pretty successful block punts. They've got a receiver, I can't remember who it is.
Zachariah Branch.
Yeah, okay, yes. Branch has blocked a punt and then on the next play scored a touchdown offensively. So you talk about momentum shifting plays in terms of that game. I mean, there's if you can't protect and you can't punt, you could be in trouble. And so we'll see. I mean, Ramos missed a field goal the other day that a lot of people were kind of talking about. I was right on the goal line. It wasn't short. I believe it was between like 45 and 50 yards. They do the whole thing where they're going to ice them, they surround them, all that kind of stuff. It was a little to the left. Ramos is Ramos. Like I think he's going to be pretty good for the most part. He obviously would love to be more consistent. Every single kicker would. The punting game is for me where you could have some concerns. You just need consistency, and it hasn't really been there. Now in the return game, I think everyone's excited to see what Xavier Thomas can do because I'll be honest with you guys, I'm just pumped that we're not going to have a fair catch every single time the ball's punted to LSU. That's exciting in terms of like getting able to watch what the punt return unit can actually do on this team. So Thomas looks like he could be the guy back there, was very electric in that role at Mississippi State, so we'll see how he fits in. But the punter situation is one where people kind of just look at it, they say, okay, well, whatever. But, look, little moments during a game, especially in the USC, who's had success with that, it's going to be very, very interesting to watch.
Would you trade no punt returns on both sides for the rest of the year if LSU didn't return a punt and the opponent didn't ever return a punt? Like just fair catches on both?
Yeah, I would. I would. That might say more about how I feel about the punt. If LSU never had to punt and they just marked off 35 yards every single time, I would rather do that than put the ball in Xavier Thomas' hands. That's how confident I feel about
35 yards. 35 yards.
We're not flipping any field goal, any field position.
No. The game of field position is going to be interesting. You might be able to get away, get some practice against Nichols or something like that.
Like that means if we own the 25 and we punt, they get the ball at the 45.
Maybe the strategy is, hey, Nussmeier, learn how to punt. You're going to be in the shotgun,
high school.
And you're going to go and punt it from there with no return team on there so that you can just, punt it out there.
Little pooch.
And,
become such a weapon at it that they put a guy deep.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm not versed on how I'm sure if you played kicker in high school, you're probably your school's punter, like especially some of these smaller schools. Does Ramos have any experience with that? Like they've got a young kid, a freshman, Aaron Burrell, like who was very, very good, in that department. Could he be an option there? Like I don't know. I mean, I think
Are we at open tryout situation here? Like, hey, can we find someone who can?
No, it's not open tryout situation.
Okay.
Like they're going to be okay. I just don't think it's going to be a strong suit, and it's not consistent enough for me to feel comfortable. And that just has to be something like if you're going to be a team that's going to challenge for this 12-team playoff, you cannot be in the back of your mind worrying about what happens when you get to fourth down. That should just be like you're playing the new college football game. You should be able to sim that every single time. You shouldn't have to worry about like is something bad going to happen here.
Now, all the reports have been really good for him out of camp, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out and exactly how he does and what he does. But how fast and how free has Harold Perkins looked in camp so far, and what are you expecting out of it when it comes to time to kick the season off?
Yeah, I mean, I asked him the question. We talked to him earlier this week, and I said, it seems like you guys are playing fast and free. And I even alluded to the fact that after every single game last year, win or loss, Greg Penn was sent out by Michael Bonnet, the LSU SID, and we sat there and talked, and the losses, he would talk about how, and in some of the wins, communication wasn't there. And that was one of the first things I asked Perkins, like, what is you have obviously the helmet communication you can utilize now, but how has that been under this new staff? And like his eyes lit up a little bit. He said, look, we're able to get in the right formation. We're able to play freer because we're not having to communicate until the last second. Like when you go back and look at LSU defensively last year, way too many times are they trying to check and send calls from the secondary all the way down to the defensive line as the ball's being snapped.
You would see guys running from the left side of the field to the right side of the field trying to get in the position as the ball's being snapped.
And then when the play's over, it was
almost like he was in motion with the offense. Like on the receiver goes in motion, he gets the snap when he's running. That's how it was on the defensive side.
Yeah, I mean, offenses probably thought that LSU played man the whole time last year. Like, that's probably what they thought happened. So, to that point, Perkins says they're more comfortable, which that allows you to play faster. Like, it might sound so elementary, but when you know what you're doing and you know where you're supposed to go, then you can play the best way Harold Perkins plays, which is intuition. Playing just go to get the football, like type of player. And so, he had a play the other day where from the inside position, which we didn't see this a ton last year, he hit the hole and tackled Josh Williams or Caleb Jackson in the backfield for about a 1 or 2 yard loss. And I met a couple of the media members that were kind of standing. I mean, once again, they're 100 yards away from us. But we're like, okay, like if he can do that in the interior, that's a massive thing. And so just him getting lined up is huge. And then just kind of to wrap that and put a bow on it, I asked him what's it been like under Baker, and he said it's refreshing. And I think that's the nicest way that he could have put that under the previous defensive staff, because there were frustrations. Like, let's don't act like there weren't. There were. He said it's refreshing, and when you see this guy talking about Baker draw something up on the board, he said there's a lot of us that are like, okay, like that's awesome, let's go try this out. And I think that goes all into this competitive nature, the juice flowing, because they're having fun. Right. Now look, you better have fun and you better win some football games. I get all of that, but that is just a small thing that I think can have an impact and why I think this defense will be better this year.
You talk about the communication. There's been a rumor, there's been a conversation about having the
green dot.
The green dot helmet. Yeah. And usually that goes to the guy on the defense that's calling the plays, which would be Greg Penn. Right, but they said since Greg Penn has been here for so long and he understands the calls, and he kind of did it towards the end of last year without that, they're talking about putting the green dot on Harold Perkins' helmet and giving him that communication and allowing Greg Penn to be able to just call the plays the same way he did last year. Have you seen that? Is that what's been going on, and how has that looked?
Yeah, I mean, he did that last year. I would argue that, I mean, look, I love Greg Penn. I think he's a program player that you have to have if you want to be successful. You could argue that, well, look at what they did with that. I mean, that could be the devil's advocate argument. But we've seen at times, like, he's relaying the call in, and you can move Harold Perkins around to where if Perkins has got the green dot, maybe it's easier for him to relay stuff, to the defensive tackles and the edge rushers. And also Perkins talked about this. He said the communication between he and he says, GP, and also Major Burns, because Major Burns is essentially playing up there with them. he said it's huge because he said when Greg calls a play, he goes, I can relay it to the defensive line. Major can relay it to the secondary, to the safeties. And the corners, whoever's on the LSU sideline, that side of the field, is going to be relaying it also too. So it can work. Like Penn has done this enough to where if that's what he's most comfortable with, then let's see how it happens. I would equate it a lot like to baseball where, certain catchers and pitchers don't want to use pitch comp. They're more comfortable with that. So if that's what they're more comfortable with, that's great. If you get to USC, and like we were joking about earlier, you got guys running over the formation, pointing fingers. We probably need to all get on the same page and give Penn the green dot. But it can work. Perkins has said he took on a leadership role in understanding the concept of what they want to do more. And he even admitted a little bit. Like he goes, I'm a good athlete, which I don't think anybody would question. And he maybe relied on that a little too much. And it kind of got them in trouble at times last year. So I really think that it can happen. It can work. We've seen it a little bit in terms of what you're talking about. Like Baker's over there making a call, Penn's relaying it, and then those two other guys are able to relay it to wherever they need to go. So I think it helps having a veteran like Major Burns playing right down there beside those guys.
We're almost there, Bryce. The dog days are almost over. This conversation is going to be a lot more fluid because every week there's going to be something. There's going to be another conversation. Hopefully, it's not too many different conversations. Hopefully, it's not the same conversation.
Hopefully, it is the same conversation.
Of like, hey, how good are we? How good can we be?
Stacks another one.
You know what I mean? But we're almost there. We appreciate you coming on. Before I let you go, obviously, there's a lot of changes in the SEC. There's a lot of, there's a 12-team playoff. Give me your way too early before the season, before seeing any meaningful snaps. Give me your prediction on what you think LSU is going to do this year.
Well, man, I have gone back and forth. I think that they sit between a 9-3, 10-2 team and on the precipice of a playoff experience. Not experience, but, appearance. I have said this. Depending on what Jackson Arnold and Oklahoma do, you could roll into that Saturday after Thanksgiving game, and that could be a playoff game to get into the playoff.
Yeah.
We'll see. Week one, I don't ever want to say one game's super more important, and Brian Kelly will never say this, and that's fine. That's not their job to. It's our job as the media to. Week one is so important. You can go
for the third straight year. For the third straight year.
Yeah, you can go with that story, but what about the one where if you lose that, you have to beat Ole Miss, you have to beat Alabama, you have to go to Texas A&M and win, like you have to beat Oklahoma at the end of the season. If you win that one, I think it takes a little bit of the pressure of where you could drop one or maybe two SEC games and still find your way in. Now, if you got to get creative, I do believe you have to split with Ole Miss and Alabama. You probably need to go to A&M and win as well. But it's going to be really interesting, guys. I think this team can make the playoff. If I had to pencil it in right now, I'd say they could go 10-2, and then maybe they're in the 10th or 11th spot, in that playoff. But we'll see what happens. I mean, if this defense really is improved and Blake Baker and earns every portion of that $2.5 million he's going to make this season, maybe they find themselves in Atlanta because I think they have the offense to do it.
Yeah.
And outside of Georgia, for me, you can point out a question mark of every other team where it's like, I don't know if they can make it to Atlanta because of this. I feel comfortable putting Georgia in there. I felt like that about Texas, but Texas has lost 2 running backs in a week and a half. And we got to know if Quinn Ewers is actually going to be a game changer and difference maker. He's been good. Can he be great? And I think he's got to be great even, into a farther extent this season. So I think LSU's in that mix of going to Atlanta. A lot depends, though, week one, man.
Yeah.
You got to set the tone. Because all these things I'm sitting here telling you, we feel good, we're excited. You're going to learn a lot about, and we saw this last year, if the cart goes off the rail here, if they lose this game, because that is demoralizing to lose week one, because then you feel like you're playing catch up for the next 3 months, and they really need to win this football week one, this game.
Man, you say 10-11, that home playoff game in Tiger Stadium sounds awesome, though.
Legit.
Obviously, I'd like for them to be in the top 4, get that bye, but man.
Yeah.
That sounds
Well, I'll tell you this, the best seed to get is the 5th seed. Because they're not reseeding once you get in there. So you're going to probably play the group of 5 representative who will probably be the 12th seed. And then you get to play the worst conference champion. So let's play the hypothetical game and say LSU was the 5th seed. I think the betting odds right now are that Liberty has like the best chance to go undefeated. If for some reason they're the Group of 5, representative at the 12 seed, you're going to host Liberty in Tiger Stadium, and then you're going to go on the road to who? The Big 12 champion? Maybe that's Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Well, you'll go on the road. You go to the bowl side at that point, correct?
Well, yeah, you go to a bowl site. So yeah, exactly. So it's like the 5th seed might be the best bet outside of being the number 1 seed, because you get to play the worst team in the playoff, and then arguably the worst conference champion. So they didn't receive that. So I think that could be really interesting.
It always works out for Notre Dame, doesn't it?
We'll see what happens.
My playoff, Lloyd. So
Yeah. Well,
they can't be. I'm just only saying
getting a ton
Notre
of hype.
Dame because they can't be a top 4 seed, and if their weak ass independent schedule, if they're able to run the table, they would be a 5th seed. And then look at that. Look how it worked out.
sneaking into the best spot.
Lou Holtz, the Magic, is back.
Well, look, Bryce, we appreciate you as always coming on. This is going to be a regular thing. I think you're down for that. We're down for that.
Yes.
We love having these conversations with you during football season. They're a lot of fun. As the football season continues to progress, they get a lot more fun. And hopefully, we're talking about a team that is continuing to win and continuing to get better. And defense ends up in the top 30. That's no. I think top 50. I think if the defense ends up in the top 50, they're going to be a 10-2 team. And I agree with you. I think that's a pretty spot on.
Top 30, they're probably in Atlanta.
Yeah, right. Agreed. But top 50, that definitely puts them in a position to be a strong playoff team. We appreciate you, dude. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll have you on again next week. And as always, dude, thank you for your time.
Wait. Are you running a dynasty with Valdosta State? I see the helmet.
Well, first off, it's Valdosta, so how dare you say that?
Wow, boy.
Well, it's a Georgia thing. I don't know. I heard weeks talk.
And Jared should know better too. I do believe he has a buddy that's like coaching down there.
Yeah, I do. It's definitely Valdosta. Shout out to Gio Alfonso.
Division II powerhouse. It is what it is. Yeah, man. Yeah,
I've actually been to a baseball game there too.
Yeah, it's the armpit of Georgia. I love Valdosta though.
I was thinking more. I was thinking like behind the knees, but that's a different thing.
Good time.
So wait, do you have a dynasty with Valdosta State? Are you playing NCAA?
Yeah, I'm running one. I put Valdosta State in the Sun Belt, so we're going to try to make it all the way to the SEC.
Well, good luck. Good luck. You and Lloyd
don't get fired.
You and Lloyd should play against each other. Do you play at the highest level? Because Lloyd doesn't quite play.
I made it to Heisman last night.
Okay.
Lloyd, I play at Heisman right now, and I'm throwing 4 interceptions.
Oh, it's brutal, dude. It's not even.
Lloyd's afraid to play at Heisman. Apparently, he doesn't want to get on it. He's scared of it.
It's not fun.
Let's stream it on the Mik'd up YouTube
Let's do
channel,
it.
and let's see how many views we can
do it.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, Lloyd will throw 6 picks in the.
I was about to say more views
and
interceptions.
Lloyd's a big. I'm gonna quit the game and start over.
I wouldn't do that head to head.
God.
Yeah, exactly.
The computer
Who do you
cheeses.
play with, Lloyd? Are you playing with LSU?
Absolutely. Jay Johnson's the head coach of the football team.
Maybe that helps him get Jonah Williams.
Yeah,
That's right.
That's what I'm going
No
for.
doubt. I think we should set that up. We should set the stream up. Let Lloyd bring his everything in here, and we do it in the studio.
Perfect.
I love it. Let's do it.
Hey, time and place, I'm there.
We got a crib here too. You can put the babe down.
No doubt. Yeah.
Turn the volume
I
up.
thought you said you have a crib there, and I was like, I'm not sure how that's going to help me. I couldn't play but
my hands would be sweating on that controller.
Like that.
Oh man, Bryce, we appreciate you, dude. Enjoy your Friday. We'll have you on again next week.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Some positivity. Listen, again, to put a bow on this whole Blake Baker defensive thing, I think that
I got a bigger bow to put on. But
yeah,
I got the
that.
biggest bow.
The biggest bow. I like the fact that he is coming out there and there's always something to improve on. Hey, we're doing this well, but we got to do it better. Got to do it better. To me, that's really good dialogue. That's really good to hear that as opposed to, oh, we're really good and we just got to keep going, doing what we're doing, and we're going to get there. I like the other thing. Hey, y'all are playing well. Don't get satisfied. Keep moving forward. And I really do think it's going to be much, much improved.
Yeah, so I guess the bigger bow, if you will, that I was going to put on it, I think it's crazy to me that we made a big deal, or great job, I should say, by him and his agent and his team, because that $2.5 million that he's going to get to come and do the job that's expected to be done in a place like this, in a pressure cooker that is here, where we have a multitude of dudes that's going to be running on the D-line. We have about 4 or 5 linebackers that you're going to possibly see. There's a group of maybe 4 safeties that you're going to see play regularly, and we don't have it really shored up on the corners yet, and there's going to be guys. For him to have to come in here and be able to have all of these guys play and play a cohesive brand of football out there and be legitimate, that every bit of that $2.5 million is going to be earned this year if he's able to get that job done, and obviously moving forward. It's a big job.
Well, not only
Put
that,
the biggest bow on it.
I was going to say, and I would say it's a blessing for him, but what better time for him in his career to have the LSU job open up? Like, I understand the expectation here. The defense couldn't have been worse. If you make it a modicum better in the first year, people are like, hell yeah, dude, sign him again.
Yeah.
Because
No. I can tell you right now. I'm just going to be able to tell you right now. If he comes in here and does that job 2 to 3 years in a row, anybody and everybody
are coming after him.
Oh, for sure.
It's highly likely. If I had to guess, knowing coaches that are that young, that are that good, that have gotten to this level this early, if he is and continues to do what he's doing, you won't see him on the college level for too long.
Yeah.
That's just my guess.
Well, not only college level, I'd imagine, if it is the college level, I'd imagine
Head
it'd be as a
coach.
head coach.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
Right.
or not, he could just, his wife loves it here. He
And
loves
maybe-
it
well, she
here.
Oh, yeah.
school
Well, she
here.
went to school
Yeah,
here.
I know. That's
And
what I'm saying.
maybe
Paint the
he doesn't
picture to
want-
stay.
I mean, I think he
Little sway.
does have aspirations to be a head coach, I would imagine.
I don't think he's happy where he is.
Okay, whatever you say.
Being that he took the job to go to Missouri and he's back here 2 years later,
Yeah.
I would imagine that every bag probably ain't unpacked, if you will. You know what I mean? Like
No
there's
doubt.
a possibility that if things go right,
Kick the drywall in, get this bag.
Yeah.
No doubt. But it's gonna be
Deservingly too, if it happens.
Oh,
for sure.
absolutely.
100%. It's gonna be fun to watch. Hopefully, these young guys start making the strides that they want to see, and it's gonna be the energy part is what's most exciting for me. As long as it's energetic and they play fast. If they make mistakes, I can get over that as long as they're playing hard, playing fast, and a lot that can alleviate a lot of the mistakes that we had last year. So we shall see. Lloyd,
Energy, excitement, effort. That's what he preaches.
there you go. I love that.
and
I
there's
need you to give me some energy. I need you to give me excitement. I need you to give me some effort right here on this
That's
next
true.
segment.
I got to practice what I
Yeah?
preach.
On this next segment, Mistake of the Day is brought to you by our friends at Dozy Place. This is your time to shine. Give me the excitement. Give me your energy.
Dozy Place mistake. So you called it a mistake. I say this works
Technically,
perfectly.
you're calling it a mistake.
No, I said this might be your mistake of the day. It could be a massive flop. Could be maybe the greatest actor of our generation playing the greatest telestrator / coach in our generation with Nicolas Cage selected to play Icon.
How do we feel about that?
Madden in the new biopic.
How do you feel about that? Like, honestly,
I'm
feel
telling
about
you,
it.
when you look at the faces, they match up. You put a little.
I don't see that.
You should.
Do you actually believe that? Like, are you just
No,
trolling me
I
with
think
this,
they
or
look
like-
alike. And then you put the Brendan Fraser fat suit on him from The Whale, and then you have a carbon copy of Madden. You brought up a good point.
It's the voice.
The voice.
It's the voice.
I understand, but I've seen movies before where they have a guy that can do the voice, and they put him off to the side, and they kind of feed it into his mouth, and so you're kind of mouthing the words as they happen.
It's gonna look like the
Well, there's going to be a lot of
Japanese
things.
movies
Yeah.
that there's talking, and then the
You can
English
fix-
words come out. And it's like, this doesn't. I can't.
You could fix that in post.
You know, like whenever Netflix has like these shows that are in a different language that are really good, but then they
In
post them and
Swedish?
put them in English, and you're like, I just can't
Can't
get
do
over
it.
the mouth. I can't get over the fact that they're not synced
But
up.
these are both people speaking English. It'll be barely tenths of a second off, and you can fix it in post. If you had Frank Caliendo doing the voice with Nick Cage in a fat suit playing John Madden, Oscar.
Okay, we'll see. I'm looking forward to watching it though.
Or it's a massive
I think
mistake
that's
of
a
the
current
day.
call and a mistake of the day. I think it's a current call.
Yeah, I think
the
it could
biopic,
be.
I think it's a current call. I think I don't see the Nicolas Cage similarities.
I've been quiet because I don't see it, so I'm gonna just let Lloyd run with this one. But I don't really see it, dog. I don't see it.
I don't know, but whatever. We'll see. Okay, let's get to our current call. Current call brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners. Me. What we got?
Curtain call 2. The aforementioned coach has now found himself coaching again. What do you do when you get in trouble in the NFL? You go to college. What do you do if you get in trouble in college? A lot. you go to high school. What do you do when you get in trouble in high school? You go to a different high school. For Connor Stallions, he is in the second leg of this parlay, where now we are coaching high school football, baby.
Defensive coordinator.
Defensive coordinator, knows the signs.
His way back up.
There he is, the guy in the back. Never the mastermind.
He's going to be as prepared as anybody, any defensive coordinator, especially up there in Detroit.
Coming to a jamboree near you.
Can't wait.
Connor Stallions.
Hey, make sure y'all practice in those gyms.
That's right.
Don't give him any access to the field. You know, leave me locked in and ready to go.
Do you think these people they had to know, right? They're like, are you that?
Oh, do they know?
You're that Connor Stallions. We want that Connor Stallions.
Maybe that's what they wanted.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't come in here like, change.
Put us on the map.
Like, yeah, do the cheat stuff.
Use this as a stepping stone. Get back to college.
If Russ Prost can get another job, you can.
If Arkansas's head coach, if you don't remember,
Petrino?
Yeah, he's had some hiccups. He got another job.
The sun was in his eyes.
Oh.
And then he said the wind blew him over.
Oh. That's good excuses.
He said, you got to walk to the hospital.
Yeah, good excuses. But he's back. Let's see what happens there. 29-year-old safety playing for them. 29-year-old receiver playing for them. Monte Harrison. We played against him in Pro Ball.
Lighten up camp. Lighten up camp.
Scoring touchdowns. Wide open touchdowns. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Is 29 the cutoff? Like, if you'd be 30, would you I'm not going out there?
I don't know, but he is a
he's been talking about that for a while. Yeah. If I remember, so I think it just kind of.
He really is a freak athlete, though. Like he flies. Obviously, he's 29, but like
he's a big dude too.
Freshman.
Nowhere.
Where else would he be if he'd never been to college before?
I know.
You can't just walk in a junior.
No doubt.
These credits transferred over from life.
Yeah.
Home ec, I got.
You got one, Jay?
I
got one. I got one. My curtain call is to former LSU baseball star Zach Hess. He earned his degree. LSU has a project graduation initiative, which is athletes that leave early have an opportunity to go and graduate and get their degree from LSU. He participated in this initiative and was able to graduate, so congratulations to him. Always hard to do, and especially when you have been away from college for a significant amount of time.
The longer, the harder.
Yep, no doubt.
I got a short one, I guess, because we really didn't bring it up, but we can kind of talk about it. The curtain call to the LSU NIL program when it comes to the show that was just released on Netflix.
Prime Video.
That's the one.
But I think it's officially released in September.
That's the one.
The trailer dropped, though.
So
the trailer dropped.
There you go. Let's give that some love a little bit.
Yeah, because it's gonna be. LSU's been in the media for all really good reasons, especially in that space, and this is not gonna hurt it. I think it's only gonna help it. So looking forward to watching it.
I would imagine the other teams in the conference are going, God damn it.
They aren't loving it.
They did it again.
Yep. That's listen, if we're not gonna have the influx of cash through the big rich donors that a lot of the other schools may have, let's flex our muscle as far as publicity goes,
and celebrities.
Flex our muscle as celebrities, and let's say, hey, look, we're gonna make it look way different and way better, and you're gonna be able to go and get this type of stuff that they're getting here potentially. You may not get it just paid to you. You go out there and you play well, you're gonna be able to earn that. So I'm interested to watch it.
Yeah.
See what happens. Any big plans for the weekend, boys?
Oh no.
Chilling.
No.
Chilling. We're all chilling.
Getting held up.
We're getting close to not having to chill.
I know. You got to turn it
great,
up.
which is great. So
Why
looking forward to it.
Turn it up to 10 when you can hit 11.
Can't wait.
Oh, quick mistake of the day. This poor guy just got roasted. So he puts out his SEC power rankings, and it is as follows. Whatever, not that big of a deal. And I'll zoom in just to give you his thoughts on what he thinks. SEC power rankings based off what I've heard in practice. Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Alabama, Missouri, drop off. Tennessee, Auburn, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Florida, Kentucky, significant drop. South Carolina, Arkansas, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. To which somebody replied, and these are in the comments, obviously you know how Twitter works. The reply right after this was, you haven't heard jack shit about 3/4 of these practices, hamburger tips.
You just made this up on the spot from what I heard in practice. Okay.
It's unfortunate. And then there's him. And he goes, geez, boy, he woke up and chose violence.
Did he respond to him?
Yeah, he goes, Jesus, son, he woke up and chose violence?
Came back at him. Hey, call him out.
That's a pretty bad.
Prove to me that what you see in practice. You haven't been traveling.
Jack shit about 3/4 of these practice hamburgers. I'm logging off.
Great response. Love the internet. Love Twitter. Twitter's a dangerous place.
It
you
is.
better be ready.
Safety's off.
You better be ready because people are coming at you.
Always
hot.
shooting, baby.
No doubt. No doubt. All right. That's all we got for today. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be back live in studio Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. Enjoy preseason weekends. Next weekend is the first weekend of college football, not SEC football. Week 0. So it's here. We're getting real close. The next week after that is Vegas. So I can't wait to party with everybody going to Vegas. Enjoy your weekend. Stay cool because it is hot. We love y'all. Peace.
Can't believe how much